Hello, hello. Welcome to the Bible in Plain Sight. My name is Carol Evans. Thank you so much for joining us for our final episode of Mia Godfrey's journey to America. As you will notice tonight, I am in a hat. Oh, hey, Mia, she just joined. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, Mia, you should see that acceptance there to join the live. Hey, look at you. You look all
I
amazing.
do. I just went and changed because I
Yes.
got home about 8:30. So I still had the suit jacket and the buttoned up shirt, and I was like, "It's 9:30. I'm probably gonna go to bed right after this. What am I doing?" So,
I know. I forgot earlier. I just had a moment where I forgot. And I took a shower, washed my face, and I was like, "Oh my word, I have to go live at 9:30. What am I doing?" So I just put a hat on and
5 minutes
anyway,
still.
here
I
we are.
actually
Oh
tried to
well.
scramble around to put something more comfortable, but I looked and I was like, "I am just so cold. I want to just crawl in the bed." And I was like, yeah, in a little bit." No. But this
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for joining us at 9:30 on a Tuesday night to talk a little bit more about your journey. And we've talked a little bit about your journey first coming to America and the immigration status and trying to go through and become a citizen and then getting a job. And so the last little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference in just coming to an American church and how different American churches are than European churches, um, and what that was like for you, and how did you feel welcome in a church, and how long did it take for you to kind of feel welcome in a church
it
environment?
was definitely culture shock. I grew up,
Hmm.
in a very, very strict. You got to keep in mind the country was communist. The church was also very strict and rules.
Hmm.
And I left home when I was 18. Um,
Hmm.
and I met other people and I started learning new
Hmm.
things. And I got my ears pierced
Hmm.
because a lot of my friends were American, and that was okay. Well,
Yeah.
in my family, that was not something, or the way we grew up, that was absolutely, you
Yeah.
were not allowed to wear jewelry or pierce your ears. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that was just, my family belief, and I
Yeah.
always respected it.
Yeah.
So when I came to America, I actually bought my first pair of pants. I don't know. Actually, Robert got it for me because I was like, I don't know, is this okay? And I remember because all my life I grew up, you have to, wear long skirts, and for a while we had to
Hmm.
wear head covers. And I
Yeah.
remember my late husband bought me a pair of pants and said, "Would you wear them?" And I was horrified. I said, I don't know. Let me call my mom
Yeah.
and my sister, because that was the only thing I knew, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So you called your
I
mom and
call
your
I call
sister?
my mom, and then I call Nina,
Oh.
and the wisest words my mom said, when you were under our roof, those were our rules due to our
Hmm.
church.
Hmm.
Um, but
Hmm.
now you're under your husband's rules. And whatever, if he
Yeah.
feels comfortable with that, I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
So it's different when it comes the church culture. It's a little bit different, but not all churches. That was just my church, my
Yeah.
experience. So
Right.
I'm not trying to
Yeah.
say one was better than the other.
Right. Right. Right.
So when I came here, I had completely different views of what the church I want to
Hmm.
join, I thought it should look. So I actually visited, my husband and I at the time, we visited 22 churches,
Wow.
and we became member of two, but we didn't stay members for long. In my mind,
Yeah.
I was thinking, I want to find my home church, like in Romania.
Yeah.
So, like in Romania, we did have, different rules. For example, women stay on one side, men on the other side. It's
Hmm.
a little bit different, and that's what I was
Yeah.
looking for because that's what I knew. That's what I
you knew.
And
That's all
again,
you
it's
knew.
not
Yeah.
because that's better than this. It's I was
Right.
comfortable because that's what I knew in my life. So 22
Mm-hmm.
churches later, I still,
That's a lot
yeah,
of churches.
and we were, yeah, and we were going every Sunday. I just never felt, didn't want to talk to anybody. I just didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable. And I thought, well, maybe it's because I need to learn more English, or maybe because I, I couldn't figure out why exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Till
Yeah.
3 months prior to Robert's passing. So that was 2015. He passed away in June. It was February that we went, some of our friends, Kim and Darren, invited us again to go to Clear Springs. And keep in
Mm-hmm.
mind, we visited
Yeah.
Clear Springs 7 years prior to that in the beginning, but it just was not our thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, I don't know about the
Yeah.
music. I don't know about, it was just not our thing at that time
Yeah.
in our
Just
life, right?
different stuff. Yeah.
So on that Sunday, out of nowhere, Robert stood up and said, we're going to join. And I got a little bit upset, and I was like, well, we didn't even talk about this. And he started walking, grabbed my
Yeah.
hand, and next thing you know, here I was, joined the church, and I was like, I don't know nothing about this church. I don't know nothing about people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable with this decision, but I went down because he held my hand. So it would have been awkward if I would have turned around and started running out. So
Yeah. That would have been more
when we
awkward.
got home, he said, what? I told him, I was like, what happened? We didn't even talk about this. He said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt a urge that we needed to do this today. I don't know. I'm still not
Wow.
sure if this is the church, but I don't know what happened. Well, for people who know me,
Mm.
they knew that 3 months later, Robert passed away. And I truly
Mm.
understand the reason why God allowed it this way, because I spent 7 years
Yeah.
in this country, and I was always saying I didn't feel comfortable in a church, but that's because I never really put the effort into it, because I was looking for something I was comfortable with. So when Robert passed, I've never felt a love like I felt for Clear Springs. And it's not about the name of the church, it was not about the doctrine, it was not
Yeah.
about what they were teaching. It was about the love and the support they showed me and how they met me where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I never
Yeah.
experienced that in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I went to church because
Yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
taught to
That's
do.
what we did. Yeah.
But I never
Mm-hmm.
felt that level of compassion. Here it
Mm-hmm.
was strangers to me. I didn't know. Yeah, you got to keep in mind. I mean, I had some friends at work, uh, but this
Mm-hmm.
was different type of family. For
Yeah.
over 6 months, they sent people at my house, and I was rude and disrespectful, and didn't necessarily open the door every time because I didn't know what to tell them. But they were coming and leaving stuff at my door, and they said, "We just want to say that we're praying for you and we're here for you." Uh, Judy
Yeah.
King was one of those people that was showing up on my door, ring the, and she learned really quick. She was
Mm-hmm.
pressing the ring doorbell and then leave and call me or text me and say, hey, I just left something at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have nothing to give them. And they keep giving and pouring love towards me. That was
Mm.
something that I think God knew that I'm going to need that family. I'm going to need that
Yeah.
connection. But the way they
Yeah.
embrace me, I had deacons at
Yeah.
church that they were regularly call me just to say, is there anything we can pray for you this week? And I was like, weird and random.
Mm-hmm.
But now when I look back, I was like, that's what sustained me. That's what kept me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because, yeah, it was a completely different experience. And everybody joined
Yeah.
churches for different reasons. I felt
Yeah.
God opened this door for me before I even know that I'm going
Yeah.
to need that community. And I needed a community that I felt like I wasn't judged. It was judgment free, just
Mm-hmm.
compassion. And they met me where I was. I was
Yeah.
broken. I was
Yeah.
I used to consider myself damaged. And I was like, nobody wants damaged goods, and I was like at that part in my life. But yet God knew
Mm-hmm.
that there will be
Yeah.
some people in that church that are going to become my family. And literally,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I met my husband 4 years later. So
Mm-hmm.
So God
Yeah.
knew that
Yeah.
from the beginning also, that
Mhm.
he was crafting that plan, that's what I'm going to meet Kenny
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
his family. So the long answer,
Yeah.
how
No,
the spring.
no, that's good. That's really good. That's awesome. When you think about if someone from America were to go to Romania and go to a Romanian church, what would be the biggest difference they might see or
I,
think?
I, I don't know if I should say this. How should I say it? My first time, Kenny came to a
Mhm.
Romanian church. At the time it was
Mhm.
Mona and Sam, and then it was
Yeah.
Kenny. And Mona and Sam were engaged,
Mhm.
and Kenny and I were like 1 year in our marriage, and they asked Sam if they want to say a word, and he's a pastor, and got up and said a word,
Mhm.
and then they asked, "Okay,
Mhm.
Kenny, your turn," and he was like, "What?" And he looked at me and was like, I told him I'm not gonna say, no, come on, it's your turn. Well, so it's more like if you're a man, your testimony needs to be so
Yeah.
everybody, the
You
man,
you speak up.
it's okay. You should be comfortable with that. Well, like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. And they were
Yeah.
very insistent, very friendly, very sweet. But the Kenny was like, no, I'm okay with not going up front. And they said, okay, so next time, and I apologize if anybody's listening, that's part of the group. I say, next time when you come back, um, we'll make sure you'll tell your testimony. And he's always been there. I was like, baby, we're not going to that church, are we? I was like, no, we will not. Because we know if we will, he will have
Yes.
to. It's out of
Yeah.
respect. It's out of respect.
Mhm.
But that's not part
Right.
of Kenny's culture. That if he visits a
Right.
church to
It's
preach,
different. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
definitely different. Um, and
Yeah.
again, you have to know your audience. Ask questions. You do visit a
Mhm.
church in a
Yeah.
different country. You don't want to
Mhm.
hurt their feelings in any way. So, for example, in some
Mhm.
churches, not all of them, male sits on a different side than where women sit, and
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
everywhere, but you don't not want to be the only female sitting on the man's side, and that's
Yeah.
just out of respect. Again, depends on the church
Mhm.
you're going to,
Yeah.
or some churches, they want you to wear a head cover, and that's totally okay. But some
Yeah.
church,
We had that when I was in England. They had that when they asked us to wear
yeah,
hats in church. And it was only during the service. It wasn't like if we were going to be like at a fellowship in the back, we didn't have to wear it. But in some churches, not in all countries in Europe, but in certain countries, they wanted you to wear a hat. And then in certain countries, it was disrespectful to them to color pictures of Jesus because to them that seemed
mhm.
sacrilegious. And in America, Eli and Jackson come on with pictures of Jesus that they color in
I have
children's church all the
with
time.
them.
And so, yeah, that's all the time. And in certain countries, that was considered disrespectful to the image of Jesus to color that picture. Um, and so I learned when I was in college and just traveling to different countries that there were some things that we consider normal that we serve the same God, but they consider disrespectful. And it was really hard not to be like, well, that's silly or that's crazy or that's whatever. And we put a label on it because it's different than what we do. Um, but it was disrespectful in their culture, even though we serve the same God, even though we read the same Bible, it was disrespectful in that culture. So we had to really learn that.
Also, jewelry. If I go into church and my family is present, I remove my
Hmm.
jewelry. Why? I don't want to create any
Hmm.
frustration or animosity, or,
Yeah.
or or cause anybody to be upset over my earrings. When
Hmm.
I get out, put them back
Right.
on. But again,
Hmm.
it's okay if that's their
Hmm.
belief. I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is we're all called to love everybody and meet them where they're at.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we
Yeah.
tend to forget that that's the main thing that God's
Hmm.
calling us to do. Just love everybody,
Yeah.
not forget about they wear a hat or pants or
Hmm.
earrings or
Right.
jewelry or
Yeah.
makeup.
Right.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
that's not
Yeah.
something very common in parts of
Right.
Romania to actually wear makeup.
Right. Because if you think about American culture, if everyone wore hats in church, they would consider that
Yes.
disrespectful. And then, and that in the country I was in England, if you didn't wear a hat, that was disrespectful. And so it's just different how different cultures have different ways of showing respect to God. They have different ways of worshiping God. Their music is different. Some churches in England, to have an organ, anything more than an organ was too much. An organ was it. Um, it's just different. It's different things in different cultures. A lot of churches would use real wine and not grape juice. In America, if you went to any Baptist church, you would never find real wine in communion. They would only ever use like Welch's grape juice. So it's just different, and different churches do different things. And um, so it's just interesting to think about how different people serve and worship the same God. They just do it a little differently, and they might show respect a little differently. So if anyone were to walk into a church right now into Clear Springs, and they might look a little different or they might sound a little different than someone else that might live in Halls or Coreyton, what's some advice that you would give to help them feel
Um,
welcome?
I started trying to practice this a little bit more often to try to welcome people without judgment. You don't know somebody's
Hmm.
story. You don't know where they came
Yeah.
from. You don't know their upbringing. So they might
Hmm.
look like you, but maybe they do that because they're trying really hard to fit in. So if you
Yeah.
just approach and love on the people coming through church, hug on them. I don't know. You should hug about all of them. But anyway,
Hmm.
just welcome the best that you can and try not to
Hmm.
judge them because you don't know their story. You don't know what they've
Yeah.
been through. And you don't know, just like how
Mhm.
I became member without even thinking that I needed or I wanted because I was constantly searching for something else. I never knew that that's what I
Hmm.
needed. Um,
Yeah.
you never know who's coming in the church, and maybe God is
Hmm.
bringing them to create a path for them for the future to help them grow.
Hmm.
To like it happened in my case, I needed that family. So
Yeah.
sometimes, but not paying attention or not being friendly to somebody, you can close that door of actually being a true blessing and be there for
Yeah.
somebody. So show compassion without judgment because I feel like it's
Yeah.
less and less a lot of
Hmm.
churches.
One last question. I know it's late, so thank you for staying up late for me and hanging out. Um, what are some questions that people ask, and maybe they mean to ask them in a nice way, but it's if you're not from here, it can kind of come across as maybe a little bit um, harsh, or it can come across a little bit rude or
I
disrespectful.
don't know if I feel comfortable saying it. um, I was asked many times, "Are you a gypsy?" Um, it
Yeah.
seems like a very harmless question, but it's very similar to "Are you a communist?" or
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, questions like that. Like if I don't
Yeah.
know somebody what country they came from, I will ask
Hmm.
around just to make sure that the
Hmm.
way I approach them, I'm not closing the door and completely
Mm.
stereotype them or
Yeah.
profiling them. Because again, we
Yeah.
don't know why God brought them to that
Yeah.
church, and we don't
Yeah.
know the reason they are there. So if I
Hmm.
don't know what to say, just
Yeah.
extend your hand and say, um, "I'm glad you're here," or
Yeah.
"Hey, welcome to our church. If you need anything."
Hmm.
So don't ask a lot of questions at first if you're not sure where they're coming from,
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
they open the subject. But
Hmm.
I know a lot of times I got
Right.
those questions and I immediately shut down because I didn't know what the answer. I was like, um,
Hmm.
"I'm Romanian." Or and
Right.
somebody else once, someone's like, "Aren't they all Romanian gypsies?" No, no. So it's different question, and I know I know
Mhm.
those questions are not coming from a bad place. Just
Yeah,
trying to
they're
connect
not.
and,
Yeah.
build a relationship with
Hmm.
somebody. But again,
Yeah.
it's all about loving people and try to meet them where they're at. And sometimes just take the time and
Hmm.
listen prior to asking those questions.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Mia. And thank you for sharing your story. How you came to America, how you became a citizen, got a job. Um, I just really appreciate your story and appreciate all that you have accomplished and done in your life. Anything else you want to add before we close out this three-part
No,
segment?
I'm just grateful for you, and I'm grateful for what God put on your heart to do. I know this is a very sensitive question, subject, and I was very hesitant at first when you asked me because I don't want anybody to take it personal. Like I'm talking, like I know what I'm talking about for every single culture. I'm simply
Hmm.
speaking from my heart, from my experience and my family culture, but that doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everybody. So I just want to say
Hmm.
thank you for actually bringing a little bit of light to some of the
Hmm.
um, experiences other people have that
Yeah.
uh, sometimes we're not aware of. So thank
Yeah. Awesome. I love
you.
you. Okay. Well, thank you, friend. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you guys for who have hung with us and listened to Mia's story. And I hope you guys will be helped by it and encouraged by it. And if you enjoyed it, share it with a friend, like it, leave a comment, and that will encourage Mia and I both.
Thank
Love you
you.
guys. Have a good night. Bye.